The ship came out of hyperspace with a soft hum. Kang Do-hyun pressed his face against the small window and watched as the Velaran orbital station grew larger. It was beautiful. The station looked like a flower made of silver and glass, spinning slowly against the black sky full of stars. "Stop acting like a child," said Yunari from behind him. She was checking her bag for the third time. "You look stupid with your face on the glass." Do-hyun smiled but did not move. "I never thought I would see something like this. Let me enjoy it." Nari made a small sound of annoyance, but he knew she was also excited. They were part of the first group of humans allowed in this sector of space. 12 engineers from Earth sent to help with repairs and to show the galaxy that humans could be trusted. It was a big responsibility. Everyone kept telling them that. The ship docked with a gentle bump. When the doors opened, Do-hyun felt the cold air of the station wash over him. It smelled strange. Clean, but also like flowers he did not recognize. A group of Valorans waited for them at the dock. They were tall and thin, with skin like pale moonlight and eyes that shone silver. They moved slowly, gracefully, like dancers in a dream. Do-hyun thought they were the most beautiful beings he had ever seen. But they did not smile. They watched the humans with careful eyes, the way someone might watch a wild animal that had wandered into their home. An older Valoran stepped forward. He wore a uniform covered in metals, and his face was hard like stone. "I am Admiral Torek," he said. His voice was cold. "Welcome to our station. You will follow the rules exactly. You will not enter restricted areas. You will not speak to anyone unless spoken to first. You will remember that you are guests here, and guests can be removed." Do-hyun felt Nari stiffen beside him. He put a hand on her arm to keep her quiet. Admiral Torek continued, "We have read the reports about your species. We know what you are capable of. Do not think we are foolish enough to trust you completely. Prove yourselves worthy, and perhaps that will change." One of the other humans, a man named Park Jae-hoon, raised his hand. "Sir, what reports are you talking about?" Torek's silver eyes moved to him. "Your wars, your history, the way you treat each other, and your planet. We have seen the footage. We know that humans are unstable, emotional, violent beyond reason." He paused. "Some species call you the Death Worlders. Your planet should have killed you many times, but you survived. That makes you dangerous." The humans were silent. Do-hyun felt a strange mix of shame and pride. It was true that Earth's history was bloody, but it was also true that they had survived. They had built cities and art and music. They had reached the stars. That had to count for something. The Valorans led them through long hallways of silver and white. Other Valorans stopped to stare as they passed. Some of them whispered to each other in their own language. Do-hyun did not need to understand the words to know what they were saying. The looks on their faces said everything. Fear, curiosity, disgust. He tried not to let it bother him. Their rooms were small but comfortable. Each human had their own space, with a bed, a desk, and a window that looked out at the stars. Do-hyun put his bag on the bed and sat down. His legs were tired from the long journey. Nari appeared at his door. "Well, that was a warm welcome," she said with a bitter laugh. "I feel so loved." "They are scared of us," Do-hyun said. "Can you blame them? If aliens came to Earth with our history, we would be scared too." "Maybe," Nari crossed her arms, "but I did not come across the galaxy to be treated like a monster. I came to do my job." "Then do your job," Do-hyun said simply. "That is all we can do. Work hard. Be kind. Maybe they will see that we are not what they think." Nari sighed. "You are too calm, Do-hyun. It is annoying." He smiled. "Someone has to be." The next few days were busy. The humans were given their assignments. Do-hyun was sent to work on atmospheric processors in a quiet part of the station. The work was simple but important. He enjoyed it. He liked fixing things, making them work again. It gave him peace. One evening, He took a wrong turn and found himself in a garden. It was hidden behind a plain door, easy to miss, but inside it was like another world. Strange plants with glowing leaves filled the space. A small stream of water ran through the center, making soft sounds. The air smelled sweet. Do-hyun knew he should leave. This was probably a restricted area, but the beauty of it held him in place. He took a few steps forward, just to see a little more. You should not be here. He turned quickly. A young Velaran woman stood at the edge of the garden. She was smaller than the others he had seen, and her silver eyes were wide with surprise. She wore a simple white dress, and her long silver hair fell past her shoulders. There was something different about her, something softer. I am sorry, Do-hyun said quickly. He bowed his head the way he had seen Valorans do. I got lost. I will leave now. He waited for her to call the guards. He waited for her to shout at him, but she did neither. She just stood there, looking at him with those strange silver eyes. You are one of the humans, she said. It was not a question. Yes, my name is Kang Do-hyun. I am an engineer. She tilted her head slightly, like a bird examining something new. I am Liray. The name meant nothing to Do-hyun then. He did not know she was a princess. He did not know that she was the daughter of the most powerful being in this sector of space. He only knew that she was not screaming at him, and that felt like progress. I will go now, he said again. I am sorry for entering your garden. Wait. Her voice stopped him. She took a small step forward. What do you think of it? The garden? Do-hyun looked around at the glowing plants, the gentle water, the soft light. It is beautiful, he said honestly. It reminds me of a place on Earth, a forest I visited when I was young. Before, he stopped himself. Those memories were too painful. Liray watched him with strange intensity. Before what? Nothing. It does not matter. He bowed again. Thank you for not calling the guards. She said nothing as he left, but as he walked back to his room, he could feel her eyes on his back. And when he looked over his shoulder one last time, she was still standing there, watching him go. That night, in a high tower of the station, Admiral Torek stood before Princess Liray with a stern face. I know you met the human, he said. The sensors showed everything. Liray did not look away. He wandered in by accident. He meant no harm. That does not matter. Torek's voice was hard. You must stay away from them, Your Highness. Their minds are chaos, pure chaos. Our telepaths cannot read them properly. They are unpredictable and dangerous. They could hurt you without even knowing they are doing it. Liray nodded slowly. I understand. Promise me, Torek demanded. Promise me you will stay away from the Terrans. She looked at the old admiral, at his worried face and tired eyes. He had protected her since she was a child. He only wanted her to be safe. I promise, she said. But even as the words left her mouth, she thought of the human in her garden, the way he had bowed, the sadness in his eyes when he spoke of the forest, the way his strange, chaotic mind had felt like music when she tried to read it. She had promised to stay away. She was not sure she could keep that promise. Do-hyun's work area was in a forgotten corner of the station. The atmospheric processor there was old and broken in many places. Nobody else wanted to fix it. The Valorans thought it was too much trouble. But Do-hyun did not mind. He liked the quiet. He liked being alone with his tools and his thoughts. Every day, he would walk through the empty hallways to reach the machine. He would work for hours, fixing one small problem at a time. The processor was like a puzzle, and he enjoyed solving it piece by piece. He brought his own food and his own music player. Sometimes he would sing softly while he worked. Old songs from Earth that his mother used to love. Songs about rain and mountains and lost love. His voice was not good, but there was no one to hear him, so it did not matter, or so he thought. One evening, about a week after his arrival, Do-hyun noticed something strange. A shadow in the corner of his eye. A feeling that someone was watching him. He turned quickly, but saw nothing. Just the empty room and the humming machines. He went back to work, but the feeling did not go away. He tried to ignore it. Maybe he was just tired. Maybe the loneliness was getting to him. The next night, the same thing happened. And the night after that, on the fourth night, Do-hyun stopped pretending. He put down his tools and spoke into the darkness. I know you are there. You can come out if you want. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, a figure stepped out from behind a large pipe. It was Lorraine, the girl from the garden. She looked different now. Nervous, like a small animal caught in a trap. How did you know? She asked. I felt you watching me, Do-hyun said simply. Why are you here? She did not answer. She just stood there, her silver eyes moving from him to the machines and back again. She seemed unsure of what to do. Do-hyun waited. He had learned long ago that some people needed time to find their words. Pushing them did not help. Finally, Lorraine spoke. I wanted to see what you do, the humans. I wanted to understand. Understand what? Everything. She took a small step closer. Your kind is strange to us. Your minds are different. When our telepaths try to read you, they hear only noise. It frightens them. Do-hyun thought about this. Does it frighten you? She hesitated. No, it interests me. He nodded slowly. Then he turned back to his work. You can stay if you want. I do not mind. She seemed surprised. You do not mind? You are not afraid I will report you? Report me for what? Working? He smiled a little. You are the one hiding in shadows. If anyone should be worried, it is you. Something changed in her face. Not quite a smile, but close to it. She moved to a corner of the room and sat down on a metal box. She did not speak. She just watched. This became their pattern. Every night, Do-hyun would work on the processor, and Lorraine would appear. She never announced herself. She simply showed up and found a place to sit. Sometimes she stayed for an hour. Sometimes she stayed until he finished for the night. They rarely spoke. The silence between them was comfortable, like an old blanket. Do-hyun started bringing 2 cups of tea with him. He would place one beside him and leave it there. For the first few nights, Lorraine ignored it. But one evening, when he was deep in his work, he heard a soft sound. He looked up and saw her holding the cup, breathing in the steam. She caught him looking and froze. It is okay, he said. I made it for you. Why? He shrugged. It seemed like the right thing to do. She stared at him for a long moment. Then she took a small sip. Her eyes widened slightly. It is sweet. I added honey. From Earth. Real honey. Honey, she repeated, testing the word. I like it. That was all she said. But from that night on, she always took the tea. Nari noticed that Do-hyun was happier. She did not know why, but she could see it in the way he walked, the way he hummed while eating breakfast. One night, she followed him. She found him in the processor room, working as usual, and she found Lorraine sitting in her corner, drinking tea. Nari grabbed Do-hyun's arm and pulled him outside. Her face was red with anger and fear. Are you crazy? She whispered fiercely. Do you know who that is? Her name is Lorraine. She likes to watch me work. Her name is Princess Lorraine. She is the daughter of the Emperor. The Emperor Do-hyun, the man who controls this entire sector of space. Do-hyun blinked. Oh, that is all you have to say? Nari shook him. If her guards find out about this, they will throw you out of the station. Or worse, they might execute you for touching a royal. I have not touched her. We just sit in the same room. It does not matter, Nari's voice cracked. You are playing with fire. You need to stop this. Tell her not to come anymore. Do-hyun was quiet for a moment. He thought about the princess sitting alone in the shadows. He thought about the way she held the teacup like it was something precious. He thought about the sadness in her eyes that she tried so hard to hide. I do not think she has anywhere else to go, he said finally. What? She is lonely, Nari. I can see it. She does not come here because she wants information about humans. She comes here because this is the only place where no one treats her like a princess. He paused. I think I am the only one who sees her as just a person. Nari stared at him. You are an idiot. Maybe this will end badly. Maybe. I cannot protect you if something goes wrong. I know. Nari threw her hands up in frustration. Fine. Do what you want. But when the guards come for you, do not say I did not warn you. She stormed off, leaving Do-hyun alone in the hallway. He stood there for a moment, thinking. Then he went back inside. Lee-Ray was still sitting in her corner. She looked up when he entered. Your friend is angry. She worries about me. She is right to worry. If Admiral Torek finds out about this, I know. Do-hyun picked up his tools and went back to work. But you keep coming anyway. Why? The question hung in the air. Lee-Ray did not answer for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was very soft. Because when I am here, my head does not hurt. Do-hyun stopped working. He looked at her. My telepathy, she explained. It is always on. I cannot turn it off. When I am with my people, I hear their thoughts constantly. It is like being in a room where everyone is shouting. It is exhausting. But with me, she met his eyes. With you, I hear nothing. Just silence, peace. She paused. It is the only peace I have. Do-hyun did not know what to say. He had not realized that his chaotic human mind could be a gift to someone. He had always thought of himself as ordinary, boring even. But to this alien princess, he was something rare, something precious. Then keep coming, he said simply. I will always make tea. Lee-Ray looked at him with those strange silver eyes. And for the first time since he had met her, she smiled. It was small and shy, like a flower opening for the first time, but it was real. Thank you, she whispered. You are welcome, he replied, and they sat together in comfortable silence as the stars turned slowly outside the window, and the machines hummed their endless song. The weeks passed slowly on the station. Do-hyun fixed the processor piece by piece. Lee-Ray visited him every night. The tea became a ritual. The silence became a language of its own. But silence cannot last forever. Eventually, words must fill the space. It started with small things. Lee-Ray would ask about his tools. What is that for? How does it work? Do-hyun would explain, keeping his answers simple. She listened carefully, as if every word was important. Then the questions grew deeper. What is Earth like? She asked one night. Do-hyun thought for a moment. Big, messy, beautiful. He smiled a little. We have oceans so large you cannot see the other side. Mountains that touch the clouds, forests full of animals, deserts where nothing grows. He paused. And cities. So many cities, full of people rushing everywhere, always busy, always moving. It sounds chaotic. It is, but that is what makes it home. Lee-Ray was quiet for a moment. My world is different. Everything is ordered, planned. Our cities are perfect. Our people follow rules that have existed for thousands of years. Nothing changes. Nothing surprises. Do you like it? She looked down at her hands. I do not know anything else. Do-hyun heard something in her voice, something hidden. But if you could choose? She did not answer. But her silence said enough. One night, Lee-Ray sat closer than usual. Close enough that Do-hyun could see the small silver marks on her skin, like tiny stars scattered across her face. Close enough that he could smell the strange flowers in her hair. I want to try something, she said, but I need your permission. Do-hyun put down his tools. What is it? I want to listen to your mind, properly. Not just the surface. I want to go deeper. He felt a chill run through him. The idea of someone reading his thoughts was strange and frightening. What would she see? His fears? His pain? The memories he had tried so hard to forget? Why? He asked. Lee-Ray hesitated. Because I want to understand. You are different from everyone I have ever met. Your mind is like nothing I have ever felt. I want to know why. Do-hyun thought about it. He thought about the princess who sat in shadows, drinking tea, searching for peace. He thought about how lonely she must be, surrounded by people who could never understand her. Okay, he said, you can try. Lee Ray nodded. She reached out and placed her hand on his forehead. Her touch was cool, like water from a mountain stream. Then she closed her eyes. At first, Do-hyun felt nothing, just the pressure of her fingers against his skin. But slowly, something changed. He felt a presence in his mind, soft, gentle, like a breeze moving through an open window. Lorraine's eyes moved behind her closed lids. Her breathing became slow and deep. Minutes passed. Do-hyun did not move. He let her see whatever she needed to see. When she finally pulled away, her eyes were wet with tears. What did you see? Do-hyun asked quietly. She did not answer right away. She just sat there, her hand pressed against her heart, as if trying to hold something inside. I saw everything, she whispered. I saw you as a child, playing in a garden. I saw your mother singing to you. I saw your father teaching you to fix things. Her voice broke. I saw the fire, the screaming, the way you ran through smoke and flames, searching for them. The way you found them? Too late. Do-hyun's chest tightened. He had not thought about that day in a long time. He had buried those memories deep, where they could not hurt him. But Lorraine had found them. She had seen his deepest wound. I am sorry, she said. I am so sorry. He did not know what to say. So he said nothing. Lorraine wiped her eyes. But that is not all I saw. I saw music. Memories of songs and laughter. Random thoughts, jumping from one thing to another like light on water. Emotions that changed every second. Fear and joy and sadness and hope all mixed together. She looked at him with wonder. Your mind is chaos, but it is beautiful chaos, like a storm over an ocean. Do-hyun finally found his voice. Is that bad? No. She shook her head. It is wonderful. My people's minds are like still water, clear and calm, but yours is alive. It moves. It feels. It is the most human thing I have ever experienced. She laughed then, a real laugh, soft and surprised. Do-hyun stared at her. He had never heard a Valoran laugh before. The sound was like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. It made something warm bloom in his chest. What is funny? He asked. Nothing. Everything. She smiled at him, and this time the smile reached her eyes. I have lived for 200 years. I have met thousands of beings from hundreds of worlds, but I have never met anyone like you. Your chaos. It makes me feel alive. Do-hyun did not know how to respond, so he did the only thing that made sense. He laughed too. They sat there together, laughing in the quiet room, while the stars watched through the window. The next morning, Admiral Torek was waiting in Lorraine's room. His face was hard and cold. In his hands, he held a small tablet showing images. Images of Lyrae entering the processor room. Images of her sitting with the human. Images of her holding his face. I know what you have been doing, Torek said. Lorraine did not try to deny it. She stood straight and met his eyes. It is not what you think. Really? Torek pressed a button on the tablet. More images appeared, but these were not from the station. These were from Earth. Wars? Burning cities? Bodies in the streets. Soldiers fighting with terrible weapons. Children crying among the ruins. This is what humans are, Torek said. This is the truth of their species. They are violent, brutal. They have killed millions of their own kind. They have destroyed their own planet. And now you are sitting in the dark with one of them, letting him into your mind. Lorraine watched the images. She saw the horror, the death, the madness, but she also saw something else. She saw soldiers carrying wounded friends. She saw people sharing food with strangers. She saw firefighters running into burning buildings to save lives. She saw humans crying over their dead, holding each other, refusing to give up. You call that madness, she said quietly. I call it love. Torek stared at her. What? They fight because they care. They hurt because they feel. Their chaos is not emptiness, it is fullness. They have so much inside them that it spills out in every direction. She turned to face the old admiral. Yes, they are violent. Yes, they are dangerous. But they are also kind, brave, loyal. They feel things we cannot imagine. You do not know what you are saying. I know exactly what I am saying. Loray's voice grew stronger. I looked into his mind, Torek. I saw everything, every memory, every fear, every hope. And what I found was not a monster. I found a man who lost everything and still chooses to be good. A man who makes tea for a stranger because he thinks she might be lonely. A man who sees me as a person, not a princess. Torek was silent for a long moment. Then he shook his head. Your father will hear about this. Let him. The old admiral looked at her with something like sadness. I am trying to protect you. I know, Loray's voice softened, but some things are worth the risk. She walked past him and out of the room, leaving him alone with his images of war. That night, she went to the processor room as usual. Do-hyun was there, working on a broken pipe. He looked up when she entered. You came, he said. I was not sure you would. She sat in her corner and held out her hand for the tea. I always come. And as the steam rose between them, and the machines hummed their endless song, she knew that whatever happened next, she would not regret this choice. Some things were worth the risk. He was worth the risk. The news spread through the station like fire. A delegation from the Kreth Dominion was coming. Everyone was nervous. Do-hyun did not know much about the Kreth. He had only heard stories. They were a warrior species, tall and powerful, with thick scales and claws that could cut through metal. They had conquered dozens of worlds. Their empire stretched across 3 star systems. And they did not like anyone who was not Kreth. Stay out of their way, Nari warned him. The Kreth hate weakness. They see other species as prey. If you do anything to insult them, they will kill you, and no one will stop them. I will be careful, Do-hyun promised. But he did not plan to attend any meetings with the Kreth. He was just an engineer. He would stay in his corner of the station, fix his machines, and wait for the delegation to leave. That was the plan. The universe, as usual, had other ideas. The Emperor decided to hold a grand banquet to welcome the Kreth. All important people on the station were invited. This included the human engineers, because refusing to invite them would be seen as an insult to Earth. Do-hyun stood in the banquet hall, wearing his best clothes, feeling completely out of place. The room was huge, filled with beings from a dozen species. The Valorans glowed in their white robes. The Kreth towered over everyone, their scales gleaming under the lights. Other aliens moved through the crowd, speaking in languages Do-hyun did not understand. He found Nari standing near a wall, looking uncomfortable. This is terrible, she whispered. I know. The Kreth keep looking at us like we are food. I know. I want to go back to my room. I know, Do-hyun sighed. But we cannot leave early. It would be rude. So they stayed. They ate strange food that tasted like nothing from Earth. They smiled at beings who looked at them with distrust. They tried to be invisible. It did not work. The Kreth commander was named Gorak. He was the largest being in the room, with scales the color of dried blood and teeth like knives. He had been drinking something strong all evening, and his voice grew louder with each cup. This is pathetic, Gorak announced to no one in particular. The great Valoran Empire reduced to begging for peace. Where are your warriors? Where is your fire? The Valorans nearby pretended not to hear. Their faces remained calm, but Do-hyun could see the anger in their eyes. Gorak laughed. It was an ugly sound. Soft-boned cowards. That is what you are. You hide behind your technology and your telepathy. But in a real fight, you would break like glass. Still, no one responded. The Emperor sat at the head table, his face like stone. He could not afford a war with the Kreeth. Not now. So he swallowed his pride and stayed silent. Gorak seemed disappointed by the lack of reaction. His eyes moved around the room, searching for new targets. They landed on the humans. "Ah," he said, his mouth twisting into a smile. "The Death Worlders. I have heard stories about you. They say you are dangerous. They say you conquered your planet by killing everything else on it." He walked closer, his heavy footsteps shaking the floor. "But you look small to me, weak. I could break you with one hand." Do-hyun said nothing. He kept his eyes forward, his face blank. Beside him, Nari was shaking with anger, but she stayed quiet too. Gorak laughed again. "See? Cowards. Just like the Valorans. No one in this room has any—" He stopped. His eyes had found something interesting. Princess Lyrae was standing near her father, wearing a beautiful silver dress. Her hair was braided with small jewels that sparkled in the light. She looked like a star that had fallen to earth. Gorak smiled wider. He walked toward her, ignoring everyone else. The crowd parted before him like water before a ship. "What is this?" he said, his voice carrying across the room. "The Emperor's daughter. I have heard she is valuable. Many would pay much for such a prize." He looked at the Emperor. "Perhaps when our negotiations are finished, you could give her to me as a gift, a sign of good faith." The room went silent. Every Valoran froze. Even Torek, standing guard behind the princess, seemed unable to move. Gorak reached out and touched Lyrae's face with one clawed finger. "Yes," he said, "she would make a fine tribute. I would apologize to her. Now." The voice was quiet but clear. Everyone turned to look. Do-hyun was walking forward. His face was calm, his hands at his sides. He did not look angry, he did not look scared, he simply looked certain. Nari grabbed for him. "Do-hyun, no!" He did not stop. Gorak watched the small human approach with amusement. "What did you say?" Do-hyun stopped directly in front of him. He had to look up to meet the Kreth's eyes. The difference in size was absurd. Gorak was twice his height and 3 times his weight. His claws could tear through steel. But Do-hyun did not step back. "I said apologize." His voice was still calm, still quiet. "What you said was wrong. She is not property. She is not a prize. She is a person. And you will apologize for speaking to her like that." Gorak stared at him. Then he laughed, louder than before. "You? You dare challenge me? A pathetic human? Do you know who I am? Do you know what I could do to you?" "Yes." That single word made Gorak pause. The human had not hesitated. He knew he was going to die, and he was standing there anyway. "You are either very brave or very stupid," Gorak growled. "I am terrified," Do-hyun said honestly. "My hands are shaking. My heart is beating so fast I can hear it in my ears. Every part of me wants to run." "Then why do you not run?" Do-hyun looked at Lyrae. Just for a moment. Then he looked back at the monster in front of him. "Because she did not deserve what you said. And fear does not mean you get to be a coward." The room was completely silent. No one breathed. No one moved. Gorak's hand went to his blade. The weapon was massive, meant for killing things much larger than humans. One swing would cut Do-hyun in half. But something strange happened. Gorak looked into Do-hyun's eyes, and for the first time, he saw something that made him uncomfortable. There was no begging there, no desperation, just quiet acceptance. The human knew he was going to die, and he had made peace with it. He was standing, not because he thought he could win, but because standing was the right thing to do. Gorak had killed many beings in his life. Warriors, soldiers, kings. They had all begged at the end. They had all shown fear. But this human, this small, fragile creature, was looking at him like death did not matter. And that was terrifying. Gorak's hand fell away from his blade. He took a step back, Fine, he growled. The female has my apology. The words sounded like poison in his mouth. This banquet bores me. I will return to my ship. He turned and walked out of the room. His soldiers followed, confused and angry. The door closed behind them. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then, the room erupted into whispers. Everyone was looking at Do-hyun with shock and wonder and fear. Lorraine walked to him. Her face was pale, her eyes wet. "Why?" she whispered. "Why did you do that?" Do-hyun's hands were indeed shaking. Now that the danger had passed, the fear was catching up to him. His legs felt weak, his chest was tight. "I do not know," he admitted. I could not let him speak to you like that. I could not just stand there." Later, Admiral Torek found Do-hyun alone on a balcony, staring at the stars. The old Valoran stood beside him in silence for a while. "You are either the bravest being I have ever met," Torek finally said, "or the stupidest." "Both? Probably." Torek was quiet for another moment. Then he asked the question that had been bothering him all night. "You were not afraid?" "I was terrified," Do-hyun said again. "I thought I was going to die. I thought he was going to cut me in half." "Then why did you stand there?" Do-hyun looked at the old admiral. His eyes were tired but clear. "Because she did not deserve that, and someone had to say so." He paused. "On Earth, we have a saying. The only thing necessary for evil to win is for good people to do nothing. I did not want to be someone who did nothing." Torek stared at him for a long time. Then, slowly, he nodded. "Perhaps," he said, "I have been wrong about your kind." He walked away, leaving Do-hyun alone with the stars. And somewhere on the station, a princess was thinking about a small human who had stood before a monster with nothing but his words and his courage. She had never seen anything like it. She would never forget it. The Valorans no longer looked at Do-hyun with fear or disgust. They looked at him with something new: curiosity, respect. Some even nodded to him when he passed in the hallways. A few tried to speak with him, asking questions about Earth and humans. Do-hyun did not understand what had happened. He had just done what felt right. He had not planned to become famous. "You are a hero now," Nari said one morning, sounding annoyed. "Everyone is talking about the human who faced down a Kreth commander. They are calling you the fearless one." "That is stupid," Do-hyun said. "I was terrified the whole time. They do not know that, and they do not care." Nari shook her head. "You know what is funny? Before, they were scared of us because they thought we were violent monsters. Now they are impressed with us because you acted like a violent monster. I did not hurt anyone." "No, but you were ready to." That is what they saw. A small human, ready to die, fighting a creature 3 times his size. That is exactly the kind of insane behavior they expected from our species. You just showed them it can be used for good. Do-hyun thought about this. It was strange. He had spent weeks trying to show the Valorans that humans were peaceful and kind, and in the end, what earned their respect was his willingness to stand and fight. Perhaps they were not so different after all. Liray came to the processor room that night, as always. But this time, she did not sit in her corner. She walked straight to Do-hyun and stood before him. "Thank you," she said, "for what you did. You already thanked me many times." "I know, but I do not think you understand." She reached out and took his hand. Her fingers were cool and delicate, like holding a flower. "No one has ever done something like that for me in 200 years. No one has ever risked their life just because I was hurt. I am a princess. People protect me because they have to, because it is their job, because they are afraid of my father." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "But you did it because you wanted to, because you cared." Do-hyun looked at their joined hands. He did not know what to say. I just did not think it was right, what he said." "I know," Liray smiled sadly. "That is what makes you different. You do not think about power or politics or consequences. You just do what you think is right." She paused. It is very human. Is that good or bad? I do not know. She squeezed his hand gently. But I know I am glad you are here. They talked more openly after that night. The walls between them fell away, one by one. Do-hyun told her about Earth, about the forests and oceans and cities, about the music he loved and the food he missed, about his dreams and his fears. He told her about his family, about the fire that took them, about the years of loneliness that followed. He told her things he had never told anyone. Lirae listened, and then she shared her own stories. She told him about Valora, her homeworld, about the crystal cities and the singing trees and the moons that danced across the sky. She told him about her childhood, growing up in a palace full of servants who bowed but never smiled. She told him about her sisters, all older, all more beautiful, all more important. I am the fourth daughter, she said. In our culture, that means nothing. The first daughter will rule. The second will lead our military. The third will manage our economy. But the fourth? She laughed bitterly. The fourth is kept alive for political marriages, to be given away like a gift, to seal alliances with other empires. Do-hyun felt anger rise in his chest. That is wrong. It is tradition, Lirae shrugged. I used to be angry about it. But anger does not change anything. So I stopped feeling anything at all. I became numb. I let myself be the perfect princess, quiet and obedient and empty. What changed? She looked at him. Her silver eyes were soft. You changed everything. He did not know how to respond, so he just held her hand tighter. One night, Lirae asked him a question that had been bothering her. What do humans do when they care about someone? Do-hyun thought for a moment. What do you mean? On Valora, caring about someone means following protocols, formal meetings, arranged visits. Everything is planned and proper. She frowned. But humans are different. Your relationships are messy, emotional. I do not understand how they work. Do-hyun laughed. Honestly, we do not understand either. Human relationships are complicated. We fight, we make up, we hurt each other, we forgive each other. It is a mess. But what makes it work? What holds people together? He thought about it seriously. He thought about his parents, who used to dance in the kitchen while cooking dinner. He thought about his friends on Earth, who would drop everything to help each other. He thought about the way humans connect, not through rules or protocols, but through something deeper. We stay, he said finally. What? We stay, even when it is hard, even when it hurts, even when we have every reason to leave. He looked at her. That is what we do when we care about someone. We stay. Lirae was quiet for a long time. Then, slowly, she reached out and took his hand again. I want that, she whispered. I want someone who stays. Then, I will stay, Do-hyun said simply, for as long as you want me here. She looked at him with eyes that held 200 years of loneliness, and for the first time in her life, she believed someone. The next few weeks were the happiest of Do-hyun's life. He still worked on the processor during the day, but now Lirae came to visit him more openly. She helped him sometimes, handing him tools, asking questions about how things worked. She was curious about everything, like a child discovering the world for the first time. They walked through the station together, talking about nothing and everything. They watched the stars through the observation windows. They shared meals in his small room, trying food from different worlds. The other humans noticed the change. Nari stopped complaining about the danger. She could see how happy Do-hyun was, and she did not have the heart to ruin it. Even Admiral Torek seemed to accept their friendship. He still watched them carefully, but he no longer tried to keep them apart. Whatever he had seen in Do-hyun at the banquet had changed his mind about humans. Life was good. Life was peaceful. But peace, as Do-hyun had learned long ago, never lasts forever. One evening, Lirae came to him with fear in her eyes. Something is wrong, she said. I felt it in the minds around me. Something bad is coming. What do you mean? I do not know exactly, but there is danger. I can feel it, like a storm gathering on the horizon. Do-hyun put down his tools and took her hands. Whatever it is, we will face it together. You promise? He looked into her silver eyes, those beautiful eyes that had seen centuries of loneliness. He thought about everything they had been through, everything they had shared. I promise, he said, I will stay. She believed him. She should have been more afraid. It was late at night. Most of the station was sleeping. Do-hyun was in the processor room finishing some repairs. He had lost track of time, as he often did when he was focused on his work. The first sign of trouble was the lights. They flickered once, twice, then went dark. Emergency lights came on a moment later, casting everything in a red glow. Do-hyun stood up slowly. His heart was already beating faster. Something was wrong. Then he heard the screams. They were distant at first, echoing through the metal hallways, but they were getting closer. Mixed with the screams were other sounds, energy weapons, firing, explosions, the heavy footsteps of soldiers. Do-hyun grabbed the closest thing he could find, a metal pipe. It was not much, but it was something. The door to the processor room burst open. Lorraine ran inside, her silver dress torn, her face pale with fear. Behind her came two of her guards. One of them was badly hurt, holding his side where blood was leaking through his fingers. What is happening? Do-hyun demanded. Kreth, Lirae gasped. A strike team. They infiltrated the station. They are looking for me. The wounded guard collapsed against a wall. The other guard, a young Velaran named Solon, looked terrified but determined. Your Highness, we need to keep moving. We cannot stay here. Where is Torek? Do-hyun asked. Fighting. Holding them off. He ordered us to get the princess to safety. Do-hyun looked at Lirae. Her hands were shaking. Her eyes were wide with panic. He had never seen her so scared. He made a decision. You two take the back exit. Go to the engineering bay. There is a maintenance shuttle there. Get her to the shuttle and launch. Solon stared at him. What about you? I will slow them down. That is suicide. You are just a human. Do-hyun smiled grimly. Yes, I am. He grabbed a welding torch from his workbench and attached it to his belt. Then he picked up the metal pipe and moved toward the door. Lirae grabbed his arm. No, you cannot. They will kill you. Maybe. He looked at her, at those beautiful silver eyes full of tears. But you need time to escape. I can give you that time. Do-hyun. Remember what I said? He touched her face gently. I stay. Even when it is hard. Even when it hurts. I stay. Before she could argue, he pushed her toward Solon. Go, now. I will find you. Then he walked out of the room and closed the door behind him. The hallways were chaos. Smoke filled the air. Bodies lay on the ground. Do-hyun stepped over them, his grip tight on his pipe, his heart pounding in his chest. He did not have to wait long. 5 Kreeth soldiers appeared around a corner. They were huge, their scales gleaming in the red emergency lights. They carried weapons that hummed with deadly energy. When they saw Do-hyun, they laughed. A human? One of them said. One small human with a stick? This is what guards the princess? She is not here, Do-hyun said calmly. She escaped. You came all this way for nothing. The lead soldier snarled. Then you will tell us where she went. Before we kill you. I do not think I will. The soldier raised his weapon. Then you die. Do-hyun moved. He had never been a fighter. He was an engineer, a fixer of machines. But humans, as the galaxy was learning, had strange abilities. When pushed to the limit, when protecting something they loved, they could become something else entirely. He ducked under the first energy blast. It scorched the wall where his head had been a moment before. He swung his pipe at the soldier's knee, hitting the joint where the scales were thinner. The soldier screamed and fell. The others opened fire. Do-hyun rolled, dodged, ran. The hallway was narrow. The Kreth were big. They got in each other's way, bumping into walls, blocking each other's shots. Do-hyun used that. He stayed close, too close for their weapons to aim properly. He hit and ran, hit and ran. He took injuries. A claw cut across his shoulder. An energy blast grazed his leg. But he did not stop. The welding torch became his main weapon. He lit it and pressed it against any Kreth who came too close. The flames burned through scales. The soldiers screamed and stumbled back. Then Nari appeared. She came from a side corridor, carrying a fire extinguisher and wearing a look of pure fury. "I leave you alone for one night," she shouted, "and you start a war." She sprayed the extinguisher into a soldier's face, blinding him. Then she swung the heavy tank into his head. He went down hard. "I told you to run," Do-hyun yelled. "I never listened to you." Together, they fought. 2 humans against 5 Kreth warriors. It should have been impossible. It should have ended in seconds. But humans, as the galaxy was learning, did not know when to stop. Do-hyun took a hit to his ribs. Something cracked. He gasped but kept fighting. Nari took a claw across her arm. She screamed but did not retreat. They fought with pipes and torches and extinguishers. They fought with their fists and their elbows and their heads. They fought like animals, like demons, like the Death Worlders the galaxy feared. And slowly, impossibly, they won. When the last soldier fell, Do-hyun was barely standing. His face was covered in blood. His ribs were broken. His leg could barely hold his weight. But he was alive. Nari was on her knees, breathing hard, clutching her wounded arm. "That," she gasped, "was the stupidest thing I have ever done. You came back for me." "Of course I did. You are my friend," she laughed weakly. "Besides, someone has to keep you alive." Footsteps echoed down the hallway. Do-hyun raised his pipe again, ready for more. But it was not Kreth. It was Valoran soldiers, led by Admiral Torek. They stopped when they saw the scene. 5 Kreth warriors, defeated. 2 humans, barely standing, surrounded by blood and fire. Torek stared at Do-hyun with an expression that mixed horror and awe. "You did this?" he asked quietly. "The 2 of you?" "They wanted Liray," Do-hyun said. His voice was rough, his throat raw. "I said no." One of the Valoran soldiers whispered something to another. Do-hyun could not hear the words, but he heard the tone. Shock, disbelief, fear, and something else. Respect. Torek stepped closer. He looked at Do-hyun's wounds, at the pipe still clutched in his bloody hand, at the determination that had not left his eyes even after everything. "Humans," Torek said slowly, "do not know when to die." Do-hyun laughed. It hurt his ribs, but he could not help it. "We are stubborn like that." "The princess, is she safe?" "I sent her to the engineering bay." "There is a shuttle." "She is there. She is safe." Torek paused. "She refused to launch until she knew you were alive." "Of course she did." Do-hyun smiled despite the pain. "Get them to medical," Torek ordered his soldiers. "Both of them, now." As they carried him away, Do-hyun looked back at the scene of the battle. 5 massive aliens, defeated by 2 small humans with makeshift weapons. He had always thought of himself as ordinary, boring, unremarkable. Perhaps, he thought, humans were more than they seemed. Perhaps that was why the galaxy feared them. And perhaps that fear was not entirely wrong. For a moment, he did not know where he was. Then the pain hit him. His ribs, his leg, his shoulder, everything hurt. He groaned and tried to sit up. A gentle hand pushed him back down. "Do not move." Lorraine's voice was soft but firm. "You need to rest." He blinked until his vision cleared. She was sitting beside his bed, her silver eyes red from crying. She looked like she had not slept in days. "How long?" he asked. His voice was rough. 3 days. The doctors were worried. Your injuries were severe. They said most beings would not survive what you went through. She paused. But you kept healing. faster than they expected. They said it was impossible. Do-hyun laughed weakly. It hurt. Humans are stubborn. I know. She took his hand and held it tightly. I know. Over the next few weeks, Do-hyun recovered. The Valoran doctors were amazed by his progress. Wounds that should have taken months to heal closed in days. Bones that were broken became whole again in weeks. They ran test after test, trying to understand. Your bodies are absurd, one doctor told him. You heal like machines. No wonder you survived your world. Nari visited him often. Her arm was bandaged, but she seemed proud of her injury. We are famous now, she said. The two humans who fought 5 Kreth soldiers and won. There are songs being written about us. Songs? I am not joking. The Valorans are making songs. They call us the Undying Ones. She rolled her eyes. It is embarrassing. But Do-hyun could see that she was secretly pleased. Lorraine rarely left his side. She read to him from Valoran books. She brought him food from the station's kitchens. She held his hand when the pain became too much. She was there every morning when he woke up and every night when he fell asleep. The other Valorans noticed. They whispered about the princess who had abandoned her duties to care for a human. Some disapproved. Many were confused. A few, surprisingly, seemed to understand. One morning, a servant came to the medical room with a message. The emperor wanted to see Do-hyun alone. Lorraine looked worried. My father can be difficult. Do not let him intimidate you. Do-hyun stood up slowly. His legs were still weak, but he could walk. I have faced worse than emperors. She smiled at that. I suppose you have. The emperor's chamber was vast and empty. White walls stretched up to a ceiling so high it disappeared into shadow. In the center of the room, on a simple chair, sat the most powerful being in the sector. He was old, much older than Do-hyun had expected. His skin was thin and pale, his silver eyes faded with age, but there was still power in the way he held himself, still authority in his voice. So, the emperor said, you are the human who saved my daughter. Do-hyun bowed as deeply as his injuries would allow. I did what I thought was right. Yes, I have heard. The emperor studied him for a long moment. I have also heard that you have been spending considerable time with my daughter, before the attack and after. Do-hyun's heart beat faster. He did not know how to respond. He stayed silent. My advisors are concerned, the emperor continued. They think you have corrupted her, turned her against her own people. Some have suggested I execute you to restore order. I understand. Do you? The emperor's eyes sharpened. You understand that I could have you killed with a single word? That your species, your planet, your entire race depends on the goodwill of my empire? Yes, and yet you do not seem afraid. Do-hyun thought about it. He thought about the fire that had taken his family. He thought about the years of loneliness that followed. He thought about Lorraine, sitting beside his bed, holding his hand. I have been afraid many times in my life, he said slowly. I have lost everything I loved. I have faced monsters that wanted to kill me. And through all of it, I learned one thing. Fear does not change what is right. It does not change what matters. He met the emperor's eyes. I care about your daughter, not because she is a princess, not because of power or politics. I care about her because she is kind and lonely and beautiful. Because she sees me as a person, not a death worlder. Because when I am with her, I am happy. The emperor said nothing. If you want to kill me for that, Do-hyun continued, then kill me. But I will not apologize for it, and I will not pretend it is not real. The room was silent for a long time. So long that Do-hyun began to wonder if he had made a terrible mistake. Then, slowly, the emperor smiled. It was a small smile, tired and old, but it was real. You are brave, the emperor said. Foolish, perhaps, but brave. He paused. My daughter has never been happy. I saw it, even when I pretended not to. She was a ghost in her own life, waiting for something that never came. But since she met you, She has changed. She laughs now. She smiles. She has fire in her eyes that I have not seen in 100 years. He stood up and walked to Do-hyun. Despite his age, he was still tall. He looked down at the human with something like respect. You saved her life, the emperor said, and in doing so, you showed me something. Perhaps we have misunderstood your kind. You are not just chaos and violence. You are also loyalty, courage, love. He placed a hand on Do-hyun's shoulder. You are fire. Dangerous, yes, but also warmth, also light. Do-hyun did not know what to say. I am granting you permanent residency on this station. The emperor continued, you may stay as long as you wish. You will be treated as an honored guest. And my daughter, he paused. My daughter will be free to choose her own path. If that path includes you, so be it. Do-hyun's heart swelled. Thank you. Do not thank me yet. The emperor's smile faded slightly. My advisors will not be happy. There will be challenges, obstacles, people who want to tear you apart. He looked Do-hyun in the eyes. Can you handle that? Can you stay, even when it is hard? Do-hyun thought about everything he had been through, everything he had survived, and he thought about Lorraine, waiting for him somewhere on the station, her silver eyes full of hope. I can stay, he said. I will stay. The emperor nodded. Then go to her. She has been waiting. Do-hyun found Lorraine in her garden, the same garden where they had first met. She was sitting by the stream, watching the water flow over the smooth stones. She looked up when he entered. Her face was anxious. What did he say? Do-hyun walked to her and sat down beside her. He took her hand in his. He said, I can stay. Her eyes widened. Really? Really? And he said, you are free. You can choose your own path now. Tears spilled down her cheeks, but she was smiling. I never thought, I never imagined. Neither did I. He squeezed her hand. But here we are. They sat together in the garden, watching the artificial sky change colors as the station turned. Outside, the stars drifted slowly past, ancient and eternal. They warned me about you, Lorraine said softly. Torek, my father, everyone. They said humans were dangerous, chaotic, unpredictable. They were not wrong. No, she leaned against him, her head resting on his shoulder. But they did not understand. They saw the fire and thought it only burned. They did not see the warmth, the light. She looked up at him. They did not see you. Do-hyun wrapped an arm around her. She felt small and delicate, like something precious that needed protecting. But he knew now that she was stronger than she seemed. Just like him, they warned me about you too, he said. They said getting close to you would be dangerous, that I would be executed or expelled, that nothing good could come of it. And yet here you are. Here I am. She laughed. That beautiful sound like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. What happens now? She asked. Do-hyun thought about the future. It was uncertain, full of challenges and dangers and unknowns. But for the first time in years, he was not afraid of it. I do not know, he admitted, but whatever it is, we will face it together. Together, she repeated. The words seemed to fill her with wonder. I like that. The stars turned slowly outside the window. Somewhere on the station, Nari was probably causing trouble. Torek was probably worrying about something. The galaxy was vast and dangerous, and full of beings who did not understand humans at all. But in this moment, in this garden, there was only Do-hyun and Lorraine, a human and a princess, two lonely souls who had found each other across the stars. I am glad you wandered into my garden, Lorraine whispered. So am I. She lifted her head and kissed him gently. It was soft and sweet and full of promise. When they pulled apart, she was smiling. Stay with me? She asked. Do-hyun looked at her, at those beautiful silver eyes that had seen centuries of loneliness, at the hope that now filled them like light. Always, he said. And he meant it. Outside, The stars continued their endless dance, and somewhere in the vast darkness of space, a small blue planet called Earth turned slowly, unaware that one of its children had found a home among the stars. A home worth fighting for. A home worth staying for. Forever.